And have a go. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, first thing I've got is actually something that was mentioned last week. I mentioned this whole thing about wandering past stores and getting a ping on your phone about getting a free coffee or something like that, buy one get one free in your coffees due to location sensitivity. Well, very interestingly, my wife was in Cambridge last Tuesday, and she spotted a pair of earrings in a window of a jeweler's, a local kind of specialist jeweler's. And so she paused outside this window and looked at them for a few minutes. And guess what? She saw in her Instagram feed that evening this. She had never followed Catherine Jones, never been near their website or anything. She paused outside of their window, and within 6 hours, this was in her Instagram feed. So you can really see how data sharing and all of these things are big, big issues. We are being tracked continuously 24/7. They know where we are, even when we slow down and pause outside a shop window. So, yeah, slightly scary, slightly worrying that. But has anyone else had this kind of experience? Keep your mics open, just talk whenever you want. I don't. No one?
I get the thing where I'm like talking about something and then like it will like come up. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if it's like related, but like it's weird. Like loads of people notice it as
Mhm.
well that I like speak to.
Yeah, absolutely. That happens so much these days, so much. It's because these little things listening to us all of the time, even though they claim they don't. I went to a conference, and one of the speakers was actually a guy from Alexa's team. Yes, she'd be flashing blue at me now because she's listening.
Mine's also flashing.
Indeed, sorry about that. Um, Alexa, stop. Push the little red button. Oh, there we go. So she won't listen anymore. Fantastic. Yeah, they claim that they don't listen all the time, but obviously they listen for the wake words and stuff like this. There was also a really interesting example, a problematic example with Samsung TVs. Samsung had some voice-controlled TVs. This was just about the time of GDPR. And the big, big problem was that, clearly the TV doesn't actually do the listening and translating itself, just like the little Alexas don't do the listening and the translating themselves. What they do is they send your audio file back to a bunch of computer servers, which then do the work on it. And Samsung's system was based in America. So all of this audio was going back to America. And it was interesting because obviously all of that stuff is stored and the microphones are on pretty much all of the time. So it's very, very worrying about what's going on with the data in those kind of circumstances. So yeah, it's quite scary. And I had another situation where we were watching a TV program, Motherland. Anyone remember Motherland? It was a couple of years ago. Yeah, very fun. And there was one point during Motherland where they were all in a room, and one of the characters went, "Who farted?" And my Alexa answered, "I don't know." Um, yeah, it was just, yes, very, very, very worrying indeed what they're doing these days. But anyway, enough about that. So that's location sensitivity and yeah, voice activation and stuff like that. And of course, our phones listen all the time as well. Our phones have got Siri on them and things like that. So we have to be very, very careful what we're doing, what data we're sharing and stuff like that. Just really to summarize what we were talking about last week. Yeah, basically, digital technologies are changing the business landscape as well as the marketing landscape dramatically. And as I said, it's really cool that you guys are doing this kind of stuff now, because you're essentially on the vanguard of what's going on. You can actually see what's happening in other businesses, what's happening around the world, and at the tactical level, you're going, oh, okay, can I borrow that? Can I look at what's going on in those companies? How can I use that? How can I build on the experience of what's going on, and so on? So you're kind of doing it at that angle, at the tactical level, but also at the strategic level. You can see what's going on in the world. And I don't know about you guys, but certainly I annoy the hell out of my wife, for a variety of reasons. But for one of the reasons is for seeing lots and lots of marketing activities and business activities, and kind of, even if you're just walking down the high street, or you're looking at reading something on the news, or you're hearing something on the radio or whatever, and you kind of get a mindset of analyzing what's going on and why people are doing this, and how it's going to be important, how it's going to change the world, and so on and so forth. Yes, around digital, but also around other parts of marketing and everything else as well. And it can be brilliant to do that, but it can be incredibly frustrating for those people around you, because they just get bored of you being a marketing consultant and telling them why all these companies are doing it wrong, and what those companies should be doing correctly, and all this kind of stuff. And it can be very, very frustrating for them. But the key thing here is that what is happening in this digital world, we are kind of at the front edge of it, but it will affect our businesses and how our businesses work. And it really has blurred the distinction between what a business strategy is and the marketing strategy of an organization. So really, all the way through all of your assignments and all of your work, and hopefully in your actual kind of like office jobs and so forth, don't feel constricted into just talking about the marketing side of things. One of the I think I said before, I'm the product marketing manager for our organization. It's about 160 odd people full time, plus about 300 odd contractors who work with us from a variety of people. And I am the product marketing manager. So I have the development of all of the product marketing strategies. And one of my most frustrating parts of my job, and I'm sure you guys have exactly the same frustration, is, oh, you're in marketing. Can I have some mugs? I need some more pens. Can you help me with some logo designs for the? You're thinking, guys, I'm more than mugs and pens and logos. We're kind of helping to deal with the way that the business runs, the way that how the business actually communicates with its customers, not just handing out pens, not just standing on a trade stand, handing out leaflets and smiling. We've all done that. We've all been there. And unfortunately, there are so many people in organizations who believe that that is what marketing is. Or these days, oh, you design the website. I can, and I literally can, but yeah, that's not really what marketing's about. We need, I think, as individuals, need to market ourselves. We need to tell the world what we do and how we do it, and why we are able to look at the business strategies. So yeah, don't be afraid to kind of market yourself into your organization. Say, yeah, we can do more than this. We can look at the strategic side of things. We can look long term. We can actually look at changing the way that we work as an organization, because I understand how this huge communication delivery channel works, and it's going to be absolutely crucial for so many businesses and so forth. And of course, it can help us get outside of our geographical areas. I mean, as an example, my wife and I used to run an online toy store. My online toy store will turn up in a variety of places throughout these 8 weeks. And we had the rather interesting joy of selling toys to China, which, is somewhat ironic. And we were selling to, I think, something like 60 odd countries. And this was me, my wife, and our garage. And we were selling to 60 countries. and it is doable to do that. So, you know, obviously with many people with physical products, I mean, beer doesn't travel massively well. Craft beers particularly don't travel massively well. Um, it's just, isn't it, with the beer? Obviously, you know about IPA, don't you?
Yes, kind of.
Kind of. Okay. Do you know why IPA is called IPA?
No, I know what it stands for, but no.
It's Indian Pale Ale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. IPA stands for IPA because it's actually slightly stronger than regular pale ale. And the extra alcohol was in there so that it wouldn't spoil when it was being shipped to India.
Okay.
So it's kind of it was the export ale. That's why it was called Indian Pale Ale, because it was designed for the Indian market. So it was actually survived when it got there. But lots of things can be done internationally now. Obviously, in terms of sponsorship for a Liverpool garden show, that's probably not going to happen. But lots and lots of organisations can start to think about being much more international, very much more easily, because we reach further. What I want to do now is actually pause just briefly in me talking and get you guys to do some thinking and talking back to me. Because although I love the sound of my voice, I'm sure you don't. What essentially does digital mean to you and your business? Just think about what you can see the opportunities within digital for your business and changing the way your business does its business. Anyone got any ideas and thoughts to start off with?
So I guess for my side of things, there's a couple of different aspects. Obviously, we've got the beer that we brew and sell. So obviously, we've got like the e-commerce side of things, our web shop, but then we've also got venues. So it's kind of two different aspects for us. So it's kind of promoting our venues, reasons to visit. So we have all of that side of things, but then we also have obviously our products that we're trying to sell as well. So I guess for us, there's sort of different aspects to the business.
Yeah, because you've got effectively three strands there. You've got the physical product that you're selling at retail. You're attracting consumers to your pubs, your chain, and everything else. And also you're trying to market to other pub chains to take your product. So essentially, you've got three different audiences. And one of the key things there is to be able to use the digital landscape appropriately, find the right parts of the digital landscape to market to those groups differently, and that's kind of a crucial area. Anyone else got any ideas about how digital is changing the way their business works?
Yeah, I've got one. So we use a lot of QR codes now. So for our prospectuses, we have QR codes in them, and we also have just a leaflet, so you can scan it and see like the most up-to-date prospectus. So we have to print out loads. So I think that's affected us quite a lot. And we use a lot of like social media to interact with students and prospective students. Obviously, like years ago, they wouldn't have done that and had like the reach that we have now.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's really interesting. Because that's CRC, isn't it? Yeah. One of the really interesting things is that careers advice when I was a student, which was back when we had slates and everything was black and white, was basically you spoke to the careers advisor in your school, and they had a bunch of leaflets, and pretty much that was it. And there was no easy way of getting hold of stuff. If you wanted the prospectus for a university, you actually had to literally write to them with a stamped address envelope, and they would then put something in an envelope and send it back to you. It's kind of absolutely insane how things are changing. And of course, the other key aspect there, Gabby, is that, as we said last week, you don't have complete control over the messaging, because you've got students who are putting up TikTok videos, who are on Instagram saying they're having a great or awful time or whatever. They are doing, personal reviews of your stuff without any means for you to control it. And that can be a really worrying thing. So yeah, the channels are changed. You know, we can bypass the careers guys, we can supplement what the careers guys are doing, but equally we can't control the message.
Yeah, so we have like a careers tool on our website now. So instead of having to come in and ask like information about jobs, you can actually just search for a job on our website and it can come up with like salaries and all information, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, this is the thing that you know, power, control. You know, the user and the consumer has got much more power and control over what they see, what they do, how they interact, and so forth. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyone else got any other insights?
Yeah. So digital for us is kind of relatively new, actually. A lot of our core audience is over 65. But obviously now we are looking for the next generation of flower show visitors. So a lot of our digital is actually about perception, and educating on what we have to offer as a day out rather than just a flower show. And also when we do announce celebrity guests or professional chefs and all these kinds of things that aren't flower show based, we can sort of track their success in terms of ticket sales, which is a good indicator for us in terms of who people are reacting to and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean that bit is brilliant observation there, because later on when we talk much more about monitoring control, before you know, we had the brand awareness catch-all place to shove all marketing activities that we really didn't know whether they'd done anything well. Oh yeah, can't track any sales, but we improved our brand awareness. Please never have improved brand awareness as one of your objectives in any of your assignments, because it's just oof. Now obviously we can actually say a post goes up, we see more ticket sales, something happens, we see tickets, we see traffic coming to our website. All of these things happen very, very, very quickly. And the cadence of marketing is changing. And again, we'll talk later in the weeks about this cadence issue that we have with our marketing now, that we have to keep putting out new stuff continually. We can't just put something out and then stop. We have to keep on going, because the dwell timing of advertising, of marketing has got so much shorter. And it's really quite scary. Another aspect that Alana, obviously, you know, you're seeing your audience, or trying to get a younger audience, which is great, but equally that audience is probably less likely to have the big gardens that the 60 pluses are having. And it's really interesting. I was seeing the Chelsea Flower Show thing preview yesterday, and they're really focusing on the balcony and the container gardens as kind of things. So they were actually doing not just the big show gardens, but the little tiny ones with the size of a balcony, you know, sort of like 4 meters by 2 meters kind of. What can you do in there? What can you do in those kind of environments as well, just to make it increase the relevance of the product. And again, that comes into it because we can see the changing demographics, and we can see that we need to almost change our product when we're actually going through this process. And we as marketers can see that happening much more quickly than many other people within organizations can see it, because we're actually like looking at the numbers, we're looking at the stats. I used to run a course called Web Analytics, and it was one of my favorite courses. It was incredibly niche, but it's one of my favorite courses, because the marketers who can understand the numbers, who can understand the impact of what they're doing, they can actually say, spend X, get Y, do Y, get Z, are the ones who are actually the successful marketers. You know, everybody thinks we just sit around on our little swivelly chairs drinking martinis and coming up with slogans, or making stickers and mugs. But a lot of what we need to do now is to look at the numbers and look at the stats and stuff like that. Any other examples anyone wants to share?
I think in terms of kind of the business I'm in, obviously publishing, obviously digital means ebook. It now kind of means audiobook and all the other versions that don't encompass print. So dealing with that in terms of both an opportunity and a threat to kind of print sales has been really interesting to deal with. And now you kind of bring AI into the conversation. That's a kind of a big threat at the moment that kind of, especially within our area, there is concern, not only about the authenticity of AI generated research, but also how AI can impact publishing as a sector. Because if AI can publish books for you, it could kind of potentially take out large chunks of the kind of publishing sector, like kind of proofreaders, copy editors, that kind of thing. So yeah, so it's an interesting time, but it's also quite a scary time. I think that's kind of the general overview on AI anyway.
Oh yeah. I mean, my take on AI. Did I mention my take on AI last week? I can't remember if I did. I don't want to bore you with repeating myself on this. No. Okay, good. Obviously, ChatGPT is heavily in the press about, it's students are using it to write their essays and and all this kind of stuff. And as a result, I did some investigation, and I kind of played around with ChatGPT and had a look at what was going on in there and everything else. And basically, ChatGPT is a really poor grade of student. It can produce moderately grammatically correct stuff, but essentially all it's doing is it is parroting stuff that it's found on Wikipedia or online or whatever. It's you're sort of saying, what is a marketing strategy for blah, and it's coming up with a fairly dry analysis of what a marketing strategy is. What it cannot yet do is provide that context and that analysis of what it means. Why is this an important strategy? Why are we doing it like this? Why would this work, whereas that wouldn't work, and so forth? It is very good at the what questions and answers. It's very, very poor at the why stuff. So in many areas, Catherine, if you're looking at materials, it'll be very good at finding an article or a paper somewhere and then just parroting that and just going, this is what it is. What it can't do is it can't add that context and stuff like this. And so therefore, in that sense, what digital is looking to do is to take what the product is, words, and maybe say, well, what the product now is actually the real comprehension and understanding and analysis rather than just the parroting. So it's almost shifting what the product is. Your product is now the people who do the editing, who do the collation, who do the preparation, who do the summarizing. That essentially is the product. That is what adds value compared to someone just doing a Google search. And so in a sense, the digital is changing what your product is. Your product is a very different beastie now in that respect. Anyone use Quora here? No? Anyone know what Quora is? Yeah.
Is it just like a forum for asking questions?
Yeah, it is basically. And yeah, and it's huge numbers of subjects and topics and stuff like that. And basically people who are experts in a particular field can be asked questions and they can answer and so forth and so forth. And so you can actually earn a small amount of money, literally pennies, by answering loads and loads of questions on that. But it has two things which it uses AI for, and this is why I'm mentioning it now, Catherine, because I think it's important. It has the Quora prompt generator, which basically means that it asks the questions, it looks at what's being said elsewhere, and it asks questions. And almost invariably, those questions are rubbish. It's very clear that they are created by a machine. They mangle two subjects together in a way that is just not relevant. They they miss the context of the question. They basically just shit, basically. They're rubbish. And it also has an automated AI-based answering thing. And it can be fun watching it. You can put a question in there, and then the AI prompt will start writing a little question. You can see it in live real time, writing its question, answering the question. And all it's doing is it's parroting something like Wikipedia, or basically taking all of the previous answers that it's got inside Quora and mangling them together. And one of the reasons why people like myself who actually do the reading of the essays, your assignments, and the drafts and so forth, we can almost instantly tell when either parts or all of an answer is being created either by copying and pasting or by something like ChatGPT. And the reason is it's because of your voices. When everybody writes, they write with a voice, and they have a particular style, a structure to the way they speak and write, and it just comes across. And when you're lifted a piece from somewhere else, a couple hundred words, and just dropped it in, it's almost as if you've printed it in red, in italics, in a different font. It's so easy to tell the difference when the voice changes in a piece. You don't need machines to do it. You just read it and the voice changes, and it's scary. And you can easily understand the voice of an AI systems, and they're not great at the moment. They'll get better. But yeah, Catherine, I don't think you need to necessarily worry too much, but it may be a case of looking at how the product is changed to add that value, to bring that editorial, to bring that context, to bring that analysis pieces into what it is doing. And that's where your value will be in the future.
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of designing our own AI platform. And just speaking about prompts, we're just in the early stages of actually the editorial directors writing and constructing the prompts, so they're not generated by a machine. So even that kind of brings authenticity into it. And like I say, the questions that are asked will not be the content won't be generated from Wikipedia, and it is because there's obviously loads of issues with trust with AI. So all of the content that is produced will be from our scientific research papers, which have been peer reviewed double over, so that people can obviously know that if they ask a question, they're going to get a genuine answer that is from a trusted authoritative person, as opposed to just someone who's written the answer on Wikipedia.
Yeah, absolutely. And therefore your marketing message, your marketing approach is to push that expertise, those people, the people part. And this is another thing is a good opportunity to say, when you're looking at something like the 7 Ps and stuff like this, you've got product, promotion, place, people. That's just some of them there. A lot of these models, ADA, RACE, 7 Ps and so forth, were actually invented way before digital became a mainstream part of the world. And so when you are actually looking at a marketing model, marketing strategy, marketing plan, and you're looking at those models there, don't be afraid to actually muck around with the models. Okay, the models aren't like holy scriptures. They are malleable to what's going on. So in those circumstances, in Catherine's circumstances, the product and people aspect get melded together because they are part of the same thing. Your people are the experts in what's going on. In other business-to-business environments, and even business-to-consumer to an extent, people can be part of your promotion. So in Chelsea's case, or whatever example, testimonials and advocacy from existing landlords, existing sellers of the product are worth masses in the promotional sense compared to just Chelsea saying it, because Chelsea's paid to say it. Of course she's going to say it. Brilliant. That's her job. Whereas pub landlord A saying it, yeah, one of my peers is saying this is a good thing, this is great, this increases, net revenue or whatever. yeah, I'm going to go for that because I trust him, because he's one of my peers, he's one of my people. So if you're looking at those 7Ps, that sometimes the people in promotion can meld themselves together. Sometimes people and product can meld themselves together. So don't be afraid of trashing the models and just going for it. And I like to think that the marketers will actually appreciate that, because that shows you understand what's going on. You kind of get it. It's demonstrating that you're getting it rather than you're just parroting it, which is what a ChatGPT would do. Parrot it. You're getting it, you're understanding it, you're analyzing it, you're changing it, you're contextualizing it, and these are key parts of what we do. Cool. Persona. Personas are really important. Virtually all the assignments these days have a piece about personas in them. It's crucial. And you know, we said, yeah, businesses are problem-solving organizations. We take a person's problem, and in exchange for money, we solve their problem. One of the things we have to do in that respect is to understand the problem, and by default, understand the persona who has that problem, who they are. In Alana's case, you know, she's got two groups of persona there. She's got the older, more established 65 pluses, relatively undigital, versus the younger, small families living in small houses with flats with balconies or very, very small gardens. Different personas, they're different, and they want different things out of the event, and they want different things out of the activity. And so it's very, very important to understand these things. I would say, Alana, that do not fall into the heffalump trap that so many people do fall into, thinking, oh my goodness, those 60-year-olds, they're so digitally unsavvy, they have no idea what this digital stuff is. They're clueless, they don't understand how to use a browser, they don't understand how to use QR codes or whatever. I'm 56, and so heading rapidly towards that 60 kind of point. And I actually built a measurable chunk of this internet thingy. So in terms of digital savviness, those late 50s, early 60s people are actually, you know, going to be right on that vanguard of what's going on in that environment. They know their stuff because they actually did it. So
Yeah.
don't fall.
Yeah, it's definitely a myth that older people aren't online. They definitely are. They may have been a little bit more hesitant at first, but they definitely are on it now, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. It is absolutely the case that you know, that digitally disconnected grouping is now heading far more up into the late 70s and 80s age ranges. If you're in your 60s, then yeah, you might be necessarily not on the latest phones and stuff, but certainly online pretty much all of the time. Because you can't do much without it these days. So yeah, don't fall into that heffalump trap. I hear it so many times on the Today program, Radio 4. Oh, the over 50s can't access the internet. Please say it one more time anyway, click near to me and you will learn exactly what I mean. But in terms of personas, who we are, the persona piece, the key difference between a persona and a segment, and the old demographic segments of ABC1 and all that kind of stuff, you know, and this is the person, and purely demographic, they are 55, they are married, they have 2 children who have left home, so they're empty nesters and stuff like this. They have this amount of money, they probably buy this size car, they have this many foreign holidays a year, kind of raw demographics. What we're now talking about in terms of personas is very much more about the behavioral aspects, their wants, their desires, their needs. And when it comes to digital marketing, how they do it, how they use this stuff, how they are accessing this stuff. Are they Googling? Are they using Facebook? Are they using LinkedIn? Are they using Instagram and so on? You're all much younger than me. Are you very active on Facebook? Who's very active on Facebook? No. But your parents probably are. Yeah. So you're kind of on there just so that you can share the odd photo with them and stuff like that. But basically, Facebook isn't for you these days. Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. But things like Snapchat have died. I think Snapchat has kind of disappeared into and X/Twitter. Anyone still on Twitter? Yeah. For business or pleasure?
Pleasure, to do with my photography.
Okay, cool. But presumably Instagram is bigger for your photography, is it? Or do you find Twitter/X good for your photography?
I find Twitter quite good for it from like an academic perspective. There's quite a lot of sort of, I don't know, teachers, tutorers, things like that on X. They generally interact with it more.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing about Twitter is that it's now being perceived as incredibly toxic. It's full of right-wing nut jobs and proto-Nazis and conspiracy theorists and Lawrence Foxes of this world. But essentially, if you found your tribe on Twitter, then it can still be incredibly important. It can be incredibly good as long as you're in your closed user group of your tribe.
It clearly works, which is why I guess Instagram copied it with Threads. If there wasn't a demand for that sort of channel,
then
absolutely, there'd be no reason for Instagram to have created a dupe of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But Threads is kind of tumbleweed at the moment. I think there's not a great deal going on Threads because people have got their tribes on Twitter, your photography tribe, and other people have got different tribes, and this tribal aspect of social media is really quite interesting. Quick anthropology lesson. Tribes in the Bronze Age usually were about 150 to 250 people. That was the kind of size of a tribe. Bigger than a family, but smaller than a town or whatever. Because at that level of 150 odd, you can still maintain personal relationships. You can still know the people. You can still understand who they are. You can still speak to them. You can walk down the street and say hi to them, villages and stuff like this. And that's kind of almost hardwired into our brains that a tribe of about that number is a comfortable tribe. If you have 3,000 people in your tribe on any social media platform, you end up with so much noise, so much over chat, so many things going on that you can't follow it. It's noisy, it's just messy, and it doesn't add value to you. But if you have a nice closed user group of people, then it can actually be really, really fun still, which is great. The winding that into the marketing side of things is quite interesting, because what this means is that you see like Threads or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and they say, oh, we've got 200 million people. What they really got is they've got about 1 million tribes. And obviously some of the tribes have interlocks and overlaps and so forth, but they haven't got 200 generic people. And you put a message on there and suddenly 200 million people get it. You need to talk to a tribe. And this can be good or it can be bad, because if you find one person in that tribe who loves your product, loves your service, loves what you do, they will tell their friends on that tribe, I had a fantastic time at the flower show. Brilliant, you should go along, find out more about it. Just, yeah, all those great things. and finding those advocates, those not necessarily celebrities, but just advocates around the world of what's going on and everything else can get you into those tribes. And it can be a very, very powerful leveraging tool. But the danger, and particularly in the business to business world, is that the tribe becomes inward looking. And we found this in our industry, in that we had a social media presence and so forth. And we had a Twitter, and we've actually hibernated it now. And we would put up a post, and then all of the companies who work with us would repost it and promote it and go, yeah, fantastic, well done, congratulations. But if you actually looked at the spread of that information outwards, it didn't go much outside of this tribe, because everybody in the tribe was following each other and liking each other's posts and basically retweeting each other's stuff to each other. It was such a closed group that virtually nothing was leaking outside into the wider world. And it can be a risk when you're looking at these kind of operations, because you're not posting a message to 20 million or 200 million people. You're posting it to 200 people. So that can be a very, very interesting and worrying thing as well, which of course why, you know, there's paid posts on X and paid posts on LinkedIn and so on, and promoted messages on Instagram, like my wife's jewelry and stuff like this. But it's really, really important, again, to understand what you're trying to do on that marketplace, what you're trying to do on that venue, who you're talking to, and whether you've actually got effective outbound stuff, or whether in actual fact you are in this little closed user group, in this little kind of cabal, little niche of people all talking to themselves. You know, we've all been to the parties where essentially a company corporate events, and essentially all the marketing people sit around and talk to each other, and all of the software developers sit around and talk to each other, and all the accountants sit around and talk to each other. And it's not a room of 200 people in your company, it's a room of 10 groups of 20 people. And social media is just that, multiplied by a million. So yeah, think about it.
Can I just add something on that, which I think
Please, yes.
interesting at the moment is the new feature on Instagram, which is collaborating on a post. You can post from 2 accounts at once. So I think that'll start changing what you've just described there a little bit.
Indeed. I mean, these guys aren't dumb. They know what they're doing. And you know, they will be starting to work this. Google, when it had a social media platform which died a death, had circles. And it actually allows you to build these circles. And so, you know, as a me, I could talk about politics in a circle of my friends who were interested in politics, and computing in a circle of my friends who were interested in computing, and 3D printing in a circle of friends who were interested in 3D printing. And then the people who weren't interested in that didn't see that other stuff. So and those kind of ways to both break and make those tribes and those circles, and to reach out of those other groups and circles is kind of interesting. Quora is a bit like that, because basically it has spaces, and you can talk about vintage Jaguars in one space, and you can talk about politics in another space, and you can talk about home education in another space, and so forth. And so you can actually talk about these different things in different places, and you're not annoying everybody with the different things. Yeah, so really interesting. So you'll see by this and tell by this, we don't follow the book at all. We kind of have this kind of discourse of stuff around what the book is talking about and colouring it. And please throw in ideas, thoughts. If you don't believe what I'm saying, if you disagree, tell me, and we'll talk about it. I'd love to have that, you know, bouncing around of ideas. That's the whole point of it. There's no right and wrong in this respect. Just you think something different, then tell me, and we'll talk, and it's great. I mean, I love that.
I've got something.
Yes, Gabby, go for it.
You missed out TikTok on like social media. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think it's good, because like you can reach more people easily, like the right people?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok has got a definite different demographic grouping to other areas. You know, it tends to be younger. It tends to be very much individual consumers rather than corporate. It doesn't have a huge corporate presence on there yet, because at that kind of level, those kind of group of people, which is like the 16 to 25-year-olds, are really kind of anti big corporate coming in and doing their thing and stuff like this. So for business, it's slightly tricky, because, you know, we've all been to those networking events where basically someone turns up into the circle of you're all talking in your little circle, and someone bursts in and then starts talking about personal financial advice, and they're trying to hand out business cards. Yeah, and they are the most annoying person in the party, and you know that you're going to be seeing them 7 times, because they're going to be going around the party handing out these business cards all over. Places like TikTok and Threads and so forth are in that position at the moment where you don't want to be that guy at that party handing out your business cards when other people are trying to have fun. So you need to be wary about what's going on in those areas. Read the room and listen into the room and just read it basically and understand what's going on, and contribute where it's good, but you know, don't be the guy handing out your business cards when everyone's just looking for nuts to go with their gin and tonics. Yeah.
So I think there is a space for corporate on TikTok. I think you just have to be really, really innovative. So it was wrote off that publishers could be on TikTok, just particularly in our space. But I've seen recently that Penguin, obviously being massive, they recently did a thing with their staff in Australia. I think it was the Australian team. And they had they compared book covers to the dresses that people wore at the Met Gala.
Yeah.
So obviously that attracted people interested in fashion.
Yeah.
And obviously books, and obviously it merged the two worlds, and I thought that was a really innovative thing to do, and it blew up because it appeared on my For You page and I didn't follow them at all. So
no, absolutely, and that is the case of reading the room. You know, TikTok has got a group of people who are very interested in fashion. The Met Gala was just huge. It always is. You guys are probably too young to remember Lady Gaga's bacon dress. Yeah, you remember the bacon dress. People remember the bacon dress. Yeah, absolutely. And so you've got that kind of thing going on, and the really interesting thing there is, of course, that's humor as well, linking a picture of a dress to a book cover or to a book or whatever. You're bringing in humor, you're getting laughs going on in that area, and the kind of the self-depreciating, mocking kind of tone for a lot of businesses can work quite well with the right kind of audience. And this comes to the persona of the audience. Yeah. Chelsea.
I was going to say, I think TikTok is very much the platform for corporate to show their personality, because we encourage our pubs and our general managers to use TikTok to show the fun side of the pub, whereas we use Instagram, we use Facebook for the more corporate messaging and the more brand messaging. But I think TikTok's where you almost allow them to get creative, be fun, and show their real personalities a bit more. And it's less about the selling of a product. It's more about, oh, that was quite good. And then it kind of sticks in your mind and you kind of remember it. And then you might end up going there because you go, oh, do you remember that TikTok they did, or something like that? So I think it's definitely a different channel in terms of what you probably put on there. But I think there's room for it for certain brands, for sure.
Totally. I mean, you've got, TikTok will be a great place for you to have a landlord karaoke competition. That would go down a storm, I'm sure. Instagram would be a great place for cocktail making competition, whatever. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. It's actually reading the room, finding the right voice, finding the right message to use in these right channels. I'm sure if you manage to get half a dozen of your landlords to do a karaoke competition and put the videos up on TikTok, then that would go down an absolute storm. Particularly if they can't sing. There are actually bylaws preventing me singing in public. It's actually illegal for me to sing in public. But again, and the cocktails as well, you know, that would go TikTok, Instagram would probably work with both of those kind of things, depending on what you're doing there. You know, the whole Tom Cruise thing, swinging the bottles and all that kind of rubbish, and it's all kind of fun, good stuff. This is really great because we're actually talking about different ideas, different things going on in different areas, and this is exactly what I want to come out of this. Yeah, this is really
Sorry,
cool.
just on the topic of beer, literally before the seminar, I saw a Brewdog thing on TikTok, and they had an ice cream truck, and they called it Mississippi, and I think they were going around London and just giving out free cans of Brewdog. And I'm not a beer drinker, and there was just looking at the demographic of people that were just queuing, as we Brits love to do, just queuing to get a free thing of beer. And then obviously like cheersing it and drinking it. I think it kind of feeds into what Chelsea was saying, like it shows them being a bit jovial. They're just thinking, oh, it's word of mouth, everyone knows it's Brewdog. And yeah, I thought it was a really fun, innovative way of I'm not sure whether it was a new line they were doing. I didn't pay that much attention to it. But I thought it was really clever that they were weaving this kind of fun element of childhood, like hearing the ice cream van come around the neighborhood, but it's actually got beer in. So it's like you're growing up with the ice cream van. I thought that was really, really cool.
Oh yeah, totally.
We've got something similar. We've got a camper van, which we dispense cans from. But it's like a retro camper van that we've decked out with our brand. It's cool, but we're not as big as Brewdog, so sadly we don't go that far. But yeah, no, it's really good. They're really good at marketing as well, because I think they're not they don't stick to maybe as stiff brand guidelines. They're quite brave with their marketing, and they don't mind if they cross the line a little bit. Sometimes it really works for them.
Oh, totally. I mean, they are, the chaos demons of the marketing world in many ways. I mean, was it Atomic Penguin? Was there massively strong beer? Something like that?
I'm not sure actually.
Something
But
like
there's
that.
another brand, I think it was Jubel, that challenged Brewdog. They did a campaign called Lou-Dog, and it went quite viral on LinkedIn, where basically they sort of were putting cans of Brewdog in a toilet seat that they had out on someone's driveway, and they were giving out cans of their brand instead. So I think the beer world does allow you to be a bit more sort of creative and challenge the sort of corporate rules of marketing.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my previous students was using Coca-Cola as a case study, and what they were doing was one of the things they did was kind of like can and bottle recycling as part of it. And basically, if you recycled one of a Coca-Cola bottle, you got 2 points. If you recycled a Pepsi bottle, you got 1 point. And points meant you could buy more Coca-Cola, basically. And so what you're doing is you're rewarding the loyalty of your own customers, and also you're persuading brand switchers to come in as well. So it's quite interesting how you can do those kind of things, and you can do breaking of those rules and stuff like that. Breaking rules is fine as long as you're not breaking the law, which is absolutely very much different. Yes, people are changing. We are more aware of what's around us. We are not control. Me as marketers are not in control of the messaging. This is crucial. We're not actually those people. It's said that if you're pleased with something, you'll tell one person. If you hate something, you'll tell 100, and you'll tell them on Twitter. And we are much more demanding. When my wife and I started our online toy store, our USP was that we would send out all of our products the next working day, for arrival within 48 hours, basically. That was at a point where people were still buying out of paper catalogs, and paper catalogs and websites were offering delivery within 28 days. Can you imagine working on a website which is offering delivery within 28 days? It wouldn't survive in this world. You just would not survive now. And this wasn't that long ago. It was, okay, 15 years, but it's not that long ago. And it's really, really interesting how the world has changed. And this has come, you know, we now, with Spotify, with Apple Music and stuff like that, we want the music instantly. It appears on our phones, in our cars, at that precise moment. You can be driving down the motorway at 70 miles an hour. You decide you want to play a particular song. That song will be in your car instantly. And you won't even have to push any buttons. You'll just tell your radio to play it, and it'll do it. So we are massively more demanding. One of the other things that we are is we all have a really, really short attention span now. COVID hasn't helped, but even before COVID, we were all reducing those attention spans quite dramatically. I'm sure all of you have experienced this, that your own personal attention span, your ability to concentrate and focus has diminished dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's just a fact of life. We just all have that issue now. But it's getting fast.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I've got a fact on this. On Facebook in 2022, I think the average to watch a video is 7 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. You have virtually
TikToks not helped either.
Oh, no, exactly. Well, is TikTok a symptom or a cause, or is it reflecting the way that we now work? I mean, yeah, YouTube. You know, who the hell watches a full YouTube video? You're always fast forwarding through 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. No one even watches a 5-minute. So we are, and it's really, I've got a real life example of how this is working. We have a product called In Academia, and the product owner, who isn't me, created a script for a video explaining what In Academia was, and this ran to 90 seconds. And you know, we can put that on the website, and if people have gone to the website and have expressed enough interest in the product to go onto the website, then 90 seconds are probably cope with 90 seconds worth of video. It's a kind of like an animated thing showing you the process and how it works and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, okay, we need to put something up on LinkedIn, because we were using LinkedIn as our primary source. This is business to business and so forth. She said, oh, great, we'll just put the video up. I said, no, the video won't work. She said, what? Why won't it work? It's great. It's 90 seconds long. I said, it will not work. I don't care. Put it up. So I'll put it up, and the response rate was erring towards 0. It was kind of a measuring error on 0. So I then edited and trimmed it down to 15 seconds, and we got 100 times better click-through rate on it. People were willing to watch for 15 seconds. They weren't willing to watch for 90 seconds. And that's business people, you know, looking at a new service and stuff like this. Attention spans are dramatically shorter. And some ways is good. I mean, you know, we now have to work hard to get our message across in, you know, the old 280 characters on Twitter, which was 140 characters when I joined Twitter. Rather than writing 500 words, or, you know, and so forth. And so we have to tighten up what we do, because we are all butterflies. We are just terrible, terrible people. And we don't even when we're watching television, we're looking at our phones whilst we're watching it. Yeah, we're multitasking, and we're really not focusing on both. And I've got 2 screens here, and you'll be glad to know I've got you on both screens. I'm not watching a YouTube video over here. I'm actually watching one. But when I'm working at home, I've got you know, a Netflix thing going on in this corner, and here. You know, it's just the way we work these days. And when we do marketing, we have to actually understand this. We have to, you know, reflect this. We can't do the big adverts and so forth. We can't do long videos until we've kind of hooked them in and we're reeling them in. And that first awareness raising piece, we need to be really snappy. We need to be really sharp. Later on in the sales process, later on in the customer journey, then we can afford, they've they've given us invested some time and effort into us, and we can then invest some time and effort into marketing to them. So we have to look at the way the work, we change our way of work. We are butterflies. Not only in attention spanning, in our attention spans, but we are more willing to change. My in-laws have never changed their power supplier ever. They are with the same electricity company that they were with when they first moved into that flat. And that was nearly 50 years ago they moved into this flat. Seriously, nearly 50 years ago they moved into this flat. And they are on the same electricity supplier. I'm sure none of us here are on the same electricity supply that we were 2 years ago. We bounce around, we change. Insurance, car insurance, you know, no one has a second year in the same car insurance. Because why the hell would you? You know, you can get a better deal elsewhere. All of us can always look for better deals elsewhere. And we can do this because the cost of switching has fallen. You know, we are less worried about going online, saying, I want to change my broadband provider, and having confidence that the new hub from the new broadband provider will turn up at the right time so that we won't have a day without broadband. We can change our power supply.
Do you not think this is also driven by like greater awareness of being able to change that? Because previously you would have had to seek that information and had a drive to have that information. If you're being presented with it,
yeah,
it's automatically clicking that idea of, oh, I could change. I feel like that has definitely influenced it. It's not just that it's easier to switch, it's that you have an awareness of the options to switch now as well.
And you're incentivized as well.
Yeah.
So it's like switch bank account, get £100, that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because marketing is successful because the people who are doing the marketing say you can switch, you can change bank accounts, and we'll move all your standing orders across and all these kind of things. We'll do all of the work for you. Relax, don't worry, we can handle it. It'll work. It'll be fine. The fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD, is diminishing. Chelsea, you say you've changed your bank account. Who else has changed their bank account since they were a student? So 2 out of 6 have changed their bank accounts. It's often said that people they get divorced more frequently than they change their bank accounts. In my sister's case, that's doubly so. That's another story for a bar night, probably. But banks work on this FUD, this fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Like, you've got so many standing orders, you've got so many direct debits. These days, you've got so many subscriptions on your debit card that if your debit card changes, then all of those other, you know, magazine subscriptions, TV subscriptions, Netflix, all those things, they'll change all your standing orders and your direct debits, but they won't change all those debit card ones because those are just debit cards. You know? So there's a lot of stuff out there, and that's one of the ones which it doesn't change very often. And for business banking, there's virtually zero churn in business banking. And one of the reasons why there's zero churn in business banking is because about 20 years ago, every small business bank had an overdraft, yay, massive. And now, if you wanted to switch banks, they go, well, you can't have that much. You can have half of that. And, you know, businesses don't want to do that. So, you know, changing your business bank account is a massive, massive undertaking, and it's very, very rare to do that. But yeah, we are more able and more willing to switch. We are, you know, particularly things like car insurance and stuff like this, we can switch. We get the electronic insurance certificate. We can then tax our car. We don't even need a physical tax car insurance document or anything like that. I remember the days when you actually had to walk into the post office with the MOT certificate and the car insurance certificate and show them to the person behind the counter at the post office. You guys would never have had to do that.
I have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
I think I'm in the old category.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But it's you know, these days you don't do that, do you? You just push the button and it does it, and the insurance company knows it's taxed, and the tax company knows it's insured, and yes, it's all done for you. And it's really, really, but we can change our insurances, we can do all of these things, we can transfer our no claims bonus from one place to another without any problems, and so on and so forth. It's all doable, all online. And as you say, we get incentivized. We can find, you know, the compare your markets of this world, and people like that will do it for us, and it's all good, fine. Because we're butterflies, we float around. The issue that this has with marketing is if you're marketing in a place like Compare the Market or whatever, or you're looking to switch brand loyalty from one place to another, if you're targeting that group of discontents, if you're marketing to the switchers of this world, they are by definition disloyal. So if they're disloyal to their existing supplier, why would they be loyal to you? You know, it's in a personal relationship environment. You know, you're going out with somebody who's currently in a relationship, and they leave that person, they move in with you or whatever. You're always going to think, well, hang on a minute, if they're willing to do that to them, are they going to do that to me? And this is what we have to look at when it comes to these customers, which we're trying to capture from other places. And one of the things that can stop this is the concept of cross and upselling. If someone has got one product and one service from you, they are relatively likely to switch. If it's easy to switch, they're likely to do it because they'll look for a better deal with everything else. If they have two or more products and services with you, then they are massively less likely to switch. Case in point, I had back in 1999, I launched a service called Message Labs. You guys probably would have heard of it. You might have heard of Semantic in the Cloud, basically a web-based virus scanning service for emails. And I launched this service in 1999 when I was working for an internet service provider. Back in those days, the average client value from the internet service provider was around about £40,000 to £50,000 a year. My online cloud-based virus scanning service was coming in at £1,500 a year. And I was trying to persuade our sales team to actually offer this service. My marketing job was to market to the sales team to persuade them to offer this service. And they all went, well, Carl, you know, it's clever. Yeah, sure. But why am I bothering? It's not worth my time for a 1,500 quid service. I've got a 7-figure sales target. What the hell am I going to do with a 1,500 quid service? And I said, trust me, there is a reason for this. And it was all to do with churn. Because at that point, we were experiencing something like 30% churn year on year. 30% of our customers every year when their contract expired were moving to someone else. When they had this second service bolted on, they would come and say, oh, the contract for my connection is expiring and I can get a better deal from these guys. I want to switch. At which the point the sales guys would say, yeah, sure, you do realize your virus scanning service will also go away at the same time. And I went, what do you mean it will go away? Well, it only works across our network. It was a lie. It could work over there, we didn't want it to. I said, well, okay, what can we do to replace it? Well, you can put in 4 servers and train up 3 members of staff to look after it and buy 10 grand's worth of software. Anyway, so it's going to cost us about 30 grand to replace something which is costing us currently 1,500. Yeah, about that. Okay, we'll stick with you. Churn went down from 30% to about 3 to 5%, meaning all those sales guys didn't have to keep on selling and selling and selling in order to replace all the ones who are leaving. They just could keep farming their existing customers. So there are marketing techniques that you can use to lock people in, to stop them drifting away, stop them being butterflies and floating around. All sorts of things we can do in that respect. So there's really quite cool stuff we can do. We've talked about Instagram, we've talked about YouTube, we've talked about TikTok and stuff like this. YouTube is the second biggest search engine. For certain categories, it is the second biggest search engine. If you're looking at, say, cake decorating or particular DIY skills or something along those lines, you're probably just as likely to go to YouTube as you are to go anywhere else, because you can find a video of someone decorating the cake or building the wall or fixing a tap or whatever. Just as easy as going into Google and saying how to replace a tap. They'll probably direct you to YouTube videos anyway, let's be honest. Well, they are Google as well, so it's all going to be the same thing anyway. But it can be really, really powerful for a lot of things you can do. Video, short video, TikTok and Instagram, and as well as YouTube. It's a lot of buttons, in particularly the youth markets, but in certain categories, it can be really, really useful. And you can have lots of influences. Most of the Great British Bake Off people have got Instagram channels where they make recipes and stuff like this. You probably follow some of them yourselves. Yeah, many people do that. Yeah, a couple of them are really good actually. And a friend of mine has got a cake decorating business down in Haywards Heath, and she puts some fantastic cake designs up on Instagram. She's got her own separate Instagram channel for her cake designs, and she gets a lot of business through that because that's where people go. They like cake. That's great. I can have one of those for my grandson or whatever. Really good marketing activities. But you can also do interstitial adverts in there. You can sponsor people as well. And people like B&Q and stuff like this, the DIY places, they do a lot of this. They'll put their own how-to adverts up there. And of course, they've got click-throughs to buy the stuff to do the thing. Or they can, sponsor people to test drive the power tools and stuff like this. So it can be a really, really interesting environment to go for. Certain areas, certain aspects, it can be really, really interesting. One of the great things also we need to do is this referrals and advocacy. Alana, you'll be interested in this. One of my current students who's submitting in a week's time works for a very, very high-end garden furniture manufacturer. They're actually in Chelsea this week and doing their thing and all that kind of good stuff. And their target audience was the 65 pluses, no kids, spending the kids' inheritance. They're full-time skiers and having a great time and everything else. And they've got big houses, they've got big gardens, they've got the time now to do their gardens and so on and so forth. And so they've got some time and money to put sodding great huge pagodas and all that kind of stuff in there. And so I said to her, so do you do a referral scheme? And she said, what do you mean a referral scheme? I said, okay, if you're a 65-year-old couple and you've just dropped 10 grand on furnishing your garden, and literally they would be spending 10 grand on furnishing their gardens, you're going to have all your mates around, you're going to show it off to all of your friends, you're going to, wow, fantastic. And of course all the friends are going to go, oh, this is brilliant, I need some of this, I want some of this in my garden to show that I can afford 10 grand's worth of garden furniture. So do referrals, do advocacy. You get 10% off. This is a card you can use or a code to get 10% off. And in return, the person who did the referral gets a bottle of champagne as a thank you. And it was almost as if I had a little light bulb in her head, because this advocacy and referrals can be massively valuable. And the same with kitchen design and bathrooms and all that kind of stuff, small businesses do it all the time. Handing out business cards and getting friends of friends and, as you said, referrals, coming in, doing this stuff. Very, very valuable. And if you can monetize that, if you can turn that into something else then it can be really, really cool. So, you know, with the corporate sponsors, give them tickets that they can then give to other people. The marginal cost of a ticket is tiny, but then if they give them to their business associates, and the business associates next year go, and actually, I can have a booth here, I can do something in here. Those kind of things can work really, really well. Can be very, very important kind of activity to do. And yeah, so consider it, particularly in business to business world. They love their peers. You know, peer referral, peer advocacy is hugely valuable and important. Automation is really, really, you know, everyone's now talking about AI. I was in a marketing conference a couple of weeks ago in London, and every single speaker was talking about AI. Everybody was talking about AI in their marketing. And you know, MailChimp now has an AI content creator. All of these things have AI. The difficulty with AI is that there's a huge amount of A and not a great deal of I in lots of it. It can be seen to be very, very artificial. It can be seen to be very, very, very intrusive. You know, that advert my wife got, clearly it was done via algorithmic activity. AI is just algorithms. It's not actually super intelligent computers. It's just a whole bunch of if-then statements bolted together in an algorithm. And that can be very, very intriguing, because now Paula says, hang on a minute, so my phone knows where I am and that I've stopped outside a shop. That's creepy. That is really, really interesting, because it's, yeah, it's getting creepy. These things listening to us all of the time. That's creepy. And then that being put into an algorithm to generate marketing content on the fly to us, specifically to us. Yes, marketing to an audience of one is great in this personalization space, but when it gets over personal, intrusive, it can be incredibly dangerous. Where is that barrier between personal and intrusive and stalky? This is particularly for remarketing, retargeting, which we'll talk about later. We've all been on dates and stuff like this. Yeah. And, you know, the person sends you a text saying, great night last night. Love to see you again. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, fair enough. Or, you know, you might respond or you might not. Up to you completely. And if you don't respond, then they send another text. And you don't respond to the second text, and they send you a third text. The third text is now, okay, I really want to get rid of this person. Second text is a bit, just a bit needy. Third text is stalkery. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all gone through that process, and it's the same with our marketing. You know. Fantastic, great. Thank you so much for coming to my shop. Hope you come again. Oh, I saw you put something in a basket, but you haven't checked out yet. Is that creepy? Or what? At what point does it become creepy? Oh, don't forget you did this thing. Yeah, you say you're watching me, and so I have something over your shoulder. And a lot of this marketing automation is the risk is we get into that, because we do this automation. Wow, you mean I've already clicked this button in MailChimp? It'll send out my automated marketing emails when people have done a certain thing on my website. that sounds fun. That sounds cool. It means I don't have to bother writing the emails. I just get the machine to do it for me. You have to be very careful.
So just on the MailChimp thing, we use MailChimp for our in-house and external communications, but I actually pushed back on using the AI tool with my MD, who was advocating for a kind of saving me time, which obviously is very appreciative. But the reason I got into marketing was because it allowed creativity, and it allowed you to tap into that side of your brain that you could have this ridiculous idea like a ice cream truck called Mississippi, but yet you'd kind of get that ROI. And I think some degrees of AI take away that creativity. And as a kind of exercise, I created my own press release and then created one using the AI. And my boss preferred mine because, as you said earlier, the AI one was just kind of 8 points, just all regurgitated, same statement over and over again. So yes, it saved time in terms of it took 5 minutes as opposed to 2 hours, but the point didn't kind of hit the kind of mark at all. So
absolutely. If it took 5 minutes instead of 2 hours, but it was 100 times less likely to get a sale, then it was wasted. And this automation process, I mean, MailChimp tells me all the time, oh, you could do this thing. So as soon as someone does a thing on the website, they get an email. As soon as someone does another thing on the website, they'll send another email, and so on and so on and so on. Great. I mean, but that gets stalkery, and we've spoken about it today already. We need to worry about what's going on in there. What it can do is actually help us with this data management thing. What it can do, the great thing about AI is that it doesn't get bored. It doesn't require pizza at 2 a.m. It can actually churn through millions of numbers and not lose track of what's going on. So you can look at the data and it can analyze the data and it can identify, oh, this segment does this, this postcode does this, these things are doing these things over here, and then can provide you with intelligence about that data, which you then convert into actual marketing actions to provide the insight into it. But I still believe that we have that role to analyze that data, to police that data, to be the gatekeeper of that information, to turn that into marketing insights. That's our role, is to actually go, yeah, okay, thank you, Mr. Algorithm. I recognize that this target market is good. I can now work on that rather than trying to market to everybody because you've told me where it's worth marketing to. Great, but I'm not going to get you to send them out streams and streams of auto mails and stuff like this because I wouldn't want that to happen to me, so therefore I'm not going to do it to my customers. Market to others as you would be marketed to yourself. So if you think it's going to be nasty, it's going to be stalkery, it's bad, then why would you do it to your customers?
We use MailChimp for our external sort of newsletters as well, but we have our MailChimp set up so if somebody doesn't interact with the content that we share with them 3 times, then they're taken off the newsletter lists in a hopes that they'll sort of fear that missing out and to try and get them to re-engage with it. And we found that that's quite successful. We sort of see people drop off for a month or 2 and then reappear because they've seen us on socials, they've realized they've missed a press release, they've realized that we've released a launch and they've missed it in their inbox and they're thinking, where have I gone? But because they haven't interacted, they've dropped off. And that's quite an intelligent way, or at least we think that's an intelligent feature that MailChimp has to offer.
Yeah, you could also go to the kind of the sweep kind of model where basically, those people who haven't clicked on a link for 5 emails in a row get a message to say, if you don't want our emails, perfect, just click here and unsubscribe or whatever. So you could do it kind of like to say, we noticed you haven't read our emails. Understand you must be busy. Absolutely fine. If you don't want our emails anymore, you want to keep your inbox clean, click here to unsubscribe, or let us know and we'll keep on sending you emails. There can be different ways of doing that and stuff like that. And again, that starts to use the automated process that Catherine was talking about, but with your input, with your control over that. So there are, it might be worth an experiment one month to do a kind of different way of doing it, just to see if it works. Okay, I am going to miss out this one because that one is a very old one. Really interesting model here about disconnected customers. The dart charge on the M25, you have to pay online 24 hours after actually going through the tunnel. The only place you can find the phone number, if you want to pay by phone, is online. So it can be a little bit tricky to find a phone number if you can't go online, if the only way you can find the phone number is by going online. So we need to be aware that if you're in a marketplace, say Alana, for example, where not everybody is online yet, and you still have to market to those non-onliners, making sure that things like your calls to action and stuff like this are still suitable. It's tempting to put a QR code on a leaflet or on a poster to order tickets, or a URL to order tickets, but you need to have, okay, if you can't do that, then phone this number or whatever it happens to be, because we do need to recognize that there can still be people who can't or won't. My daughter has a part-time job at the box office of the ADC. Those of us in or near Cambridge will know what the ADC is. It's the University Theatre. And she gets, in her 4-hour shift, maybe 3 phone calls, people booking tickets by phone because they don't want to book online. But they still need to have that approach because there are people who don't want to book online. So we have to be aware of what's going on in those spaces and be aware of what's happening around that kind of thing. Which comes, as I said, beginning of the first week, marketing isn't a special thing anymore. It's merely a set of channels and merely a separate mechanisms to use within our overall marketing strategy. And one of the most interesting things that you can look at in this respect is how online and offline kind of work together and integrate together. Because you can start with the awareness section. Like, things can be offline, they can be online, they can be pay-per-click advertising, or they could be posters in bus stops. Quick question. The 3 TV adverts with the woman looking at her phone going, oh, who finds them irritating? 2 people find it, who likes them? No one actually likes them. Just 2 people find them really irritating. Everyone else just ignores them. That's fine. I'm irritated. I can't cope with that.
It annoys me that she's out of sync with the actual song. That's what annoys me, is that she's so offbeat.
Okay, fair enough.
It annoys me that they keep using really good classics in all of the ads and doing a bit of a cringe twist on the wordplay.
What's it advertising?
The mobile phone network.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah, with the woman who's having a massage or on a plane or whatever it is, going, oh,
Seen them?
You've seen them?
No, I don't think I have.
No,
I don't think I have either.
Are they on TV?
Yeah, TV adverts.
You'll never forget them.
I don't really watch live TV anymore.
I watch the smallest amount of live TV, and somehow everything I choose to watch, she appears. And I didn't even know that it was for 3. I couldn't even tell you. It comes on and I'm instantly annoyed.
Yeah. And And I'm particularly annoyed because I think it's so patronizing that a woman of that age, all she wants to do is to be on her phone looking at presumably kittens or something like that. And Three as a company have decided, all right, what's the best way to market our, always on massively high capacity networking is, oh, someone just wants to look at kittens. They don't want to have a real life. They just want to look at kittens. Yeah. And she's also on bus stops now as well in Cambridge. And that just, I just have to see her picture. It makes me, oof. Anyway. Meanwhile, back at the point, so we're talking about online and offline stuff. So these things work together. So we're looking at online materials or offline materials. Radio these days, it's search the AA is the call to action that they put on the radio adverts. Search this, I tell you what to do. Of course, the issue we have is with the disconnected customers that we spoke about literally 10 seconds ago. How the hell do my in-laws who don't believe in the internet search for the AA when they don't have the internet? So the call to action fails for them. But what we are now seeing is that these things are now being much more integrated in. So we're seeing both online and offline working together. People are kind of going to social media, then they're doing some web chat and so forth. Then they're getting money off vouchers in their parcels. Amazon a while ago used to do money off vouchers for all sorts of other people inside their parcels. They used to essentially sell space inside their parcels. They don't seem to do that anymore. But you can see how different channels work together across this, both online and offline. And we need to recognize that digital is not a separate animal. It's just part of the one thing. And the important thing we have to think about there is what the difference between omni-channel and multi-channel are. Anyone got thoughts on omni-channel versus multi-channel? Anyone heard the concepts? No?
Is omni-channel kind of pretty much the same thing across all channels, and then multi-channels a bit tailored and bespoke to each channel format?
Kinda. The concept of omni-channel is that it's joined up marketing across different channels. So I'm sure all of you have watched a game of rugby at some point in your lives. Yeah, you're probably not fans, but you've probably seen a bit of rugby. And in rugby, you have the scrum, and you've got a whole bunch of big blokes sticking their heads up each other's backsides. They then get the ball out of the scrum, and then it goes to the scrum half, who then passes it to someone else. And they run a bit, and then they pass it to someone else, and they run a bit, and they pass it to someone else. And then at the right far end, there's some guy who's minuscule little thing, he has the ball, and he sprints and scores a try. And that's the kind of best analogy I can have for what omni-channel is. It's each of those different players within the team has got a particular role, and they're used at different points within that particular journey. And the customer, the ball, is passed along them at the right time with the right kind of information going between them to say, here's the ball. Right, thank you. I'll do my thing, move them on a bit, pass it to someone else, and they'll do their thing and move them on a bit. So it works very much as a team activity. Multi-channel is probably a bit like a nine-year-old's game of football. And I'm sure we've all seen our younger brothers or nephews playing football when they're about that age. And essentially you've got 20 players in one big bundle, all doing the same thing and kicking the ball and kicking each other. And then this kind of block of players moves around the pitch following the ball. And they're all trying to do their thing in the same place at the same time. And that's kind of what multi-channel used to be like, where everybody was, you were doing the same thing all over the place on different channels, doing, maybe you have the same adverts, like the Three advert that's on the billboards and it's on the TV and it's you know, on Instagram and everything else. Obviously, the Instagram knows that I hate it, and so they don't show it to me, but I'm sure it's on there somewhere. And so that's what multi-channel is like, everybody doing things. Omni-channel is very much more like a team player, where you're passing it from one to the other and you know what they're all doing. So in this respect, you're actually passing it from one person to another, to another, to another, maybe missing out a couple of people if it's good to throw it further down the line because they've got some space or whatever, but you're working as a team. And one of the important things you're doing when you're working as at this team is you're passing the information along with the customer. So this customer has done this. This customer has been here. This customer has already put something in their basket. This customer is an existing customer and they are coming back for a second thing, and so on. So that information is being passed along with the customer so that the next channel can do the right thing at the right time to them and progress them through the sales journey, through the customer journey. So that is the difference between omnichannel and multi-channel. And I think one of the things I'd like you to do between now and next Tuesday, so we've got the bank holiday, is to think about all the different marketing channels you have within your organization and how they fit together and how they kind of join up, and just take a look at what you're doing and how you're doing it and understand, are you actually a multi-channel where everybody's kind of like doing their own thing, you know, without really paying attention to each other? Or are you a very much more of a team player in terms of your marketing? So have a think, take a think about that. Don't spend too much time over the weekend doing it, but yeah, absolutely. Good. And that's about it for today. That's good for you guys. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Anything that you want me to cover next week or anything which is unclear or whatever, just yell. You know where I am. And I shall see you all next Tuesday. Is that good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Take care all.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.